Okay, so I grew up in the southwest suburbs of Chicago. So about, if you hear people talk about Chicago, everything's 35 minutes, 40 minutes away. So I live about 35 minutes south of Chicago. I went to a good high school, good wrestling program, always ranked in the country when I was around. And, I got really lucky to be put in a program like that because it molded me to be who I am today in fighting. And, that's, technique and drilling and just grinding, going hard. Like to work hard, not. I think everyone's thing about MMA is, how do I get really good overnight? And, you ask Coach Jackson, Rome wasn't built in, 1 day, 2 days? What do they say?
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
And, 3 years later, and I'm learning that, I started wrestling when I was 8. And then I wrestled, through high school. I was all state in Illinois, and then I wrestled at the University of Wisconsin Parkside, which was a Division II. It is a Division II program. Usually nationally ranked. I think I learned most of my wrestling that's transitioned into MMA there. I did 5 years there, and right after that, I started coaching for Israel Martinez over at Izzy Style Wrestling.
Okay. So
Yeah. Yeah, and then he's actually the one who brought me out here.
All right.
He brought me out here with Holly home, and when I was out here in Holly's camp, then Cub Swanson was here, and I met him in Chicago and a couple months prior, and when he was out here, he asked me to stick along with him for another month of his training camp, and I did that, and ever since then, my relationship with Cub has just grown where, I consider myself, one of his Cubs, one of his guys, and, he's been a good mentor for me, in this sport. I got some of the best guys in the game, Diego Brandao alone, going with him, he has so much knowledge for his age, and he's got quite the resume. So going with him, I get to learn pretty quick, as well as Aaron Pico and Patrick Mix, and who else? You got Edwin Cooper, some of the best grapplers in the country, and some of them are known, and some of us we haven't even touched the surface yet, and people are gonna, they're gonna be surprised to see who comes out of this gym. 3.5 months ago-ish, around there, I think. I was looking for a fight. I just got done fighting for LFA, and I had a good pro debut. I finished my guy in the first, I think, like 3 minutes or so, and
And how was that one? What? Knockout, submission?
TKO.
TKO.
Yeah,
Right.
I took him down, and I punished him.
All right.
He didn't belong in there with me.
Yeah.
Expect no mercy, give no mercy, and go in there, expect to finish it. I only say that because these coaches, they brought me up right. After that fight, I was hungry to get back in there. I like to be active. If you know college wrestling, you're competing 3 times a week. For
Right.
6 months.
Right.
And I'm pretty fresh out of that. Where I got a couple fights where I'm like, oh shit, you got to be active in this sport, because if you stop fighting for a couple months, no one cares. People forget.
Right.
You got to ride that wave.
Yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, and I coming off that win, I was ready to get another fight, and my manager talked to Combates, and I think I took the fight on 6 days' notice. It was a Saturday night. I'm at home with my girlfriend, having tacos, and I had a Bud Light, and I'm sitting there, and I don't drink much, so I'm in off season. I'm having a beer, with dinner, and my manager calls me, and he goes, how much do you weigh? And I'm like, right now or after this run I'm about to do? And he goes, call me after you run. So I call him after I run, and I was pretty heavy, and I told him how much I weighed. He goes, all right, great. And he was like, because you got to fight next Friday. And I'm like, oh, okay. When, where, who? He goes, I'm gonna fly you out to LA tomorrow morning. And so, that night I had to basically do like a small weight cut to get off close to 10 pounds just to be in shooting range for the week.
Did you know anything about your opponent at that time?
No.
Nothing.
No. So he just told me, I got a fight. He said it was actually someone. He told me it was just against a wrestler, junior college wrestler, and he was an All-American as well. So you hear that, and it's like, all right, I've beaten some Division II national champs. I've competed with D1 wrestlers. So it was no obstacle for me. I knew what I had to do to him. He don't work as hard as me. He don't train as hard as me. And, I got out to LA that Tuesday, so that was Sunday. And on Tuesday, that guy pulled out. Then they got me a new opponent by Wednesday. And then Wednesday, that opponent pulled out because he didn't have his medicals. And then on Wednesday night, they finally got me an opponent. So 3 opponents, 6 days. I already made the trip out there.
So it didn't matter what you
Yeah,
about your opponent.
It was.
You're going in there to fight.
Yeah, I think that's. I perform better like that,
Right.
Because when you're bred to do it and you kind of know your purpose, and it's to go out there and just finish the fight, entertain and finish a fight, it made it fun for me, It felt like a birthday party, being able to, fight for Combate. My parents were super proud. I have pictures of my parents, watching it in the kitchen on their little TV. My dad's been to one of my fights in New Mexico. My brother and sister came to a fight in Colorado. My sister's been to a fight in California. And my brother and my dad were in my fight in Chicago.
So you've been all over the country.
Yeah. So after that Fresno fight, I stayed in California for a couple more days. My buddy Cub wouldn't let me go home right away just because he bought my plane ticket out there. And he told me, he needed some work too. So he beat me up for a couple days, and as I was leaving, he was like, "Hey, it'd be pretty cool if you fought in Chicago. And, you've been all over the place, and let's see if you really, have some support and some people that are, want to watch you." 2 days later, I'm back here, and my manager calls me, "Hey, got a fight for you in Chicago," and I'm like, "No way." He's like, "Yep, with Combates," and I'm like, "Let's do it." He goes, "All right, it's in 4 weeks." And I'm like, "Okay, so I'm gonna finish camp in Albuquerque this week." It got crazy because my buddy's bachelor party, my best friend, we were on the same wrestling team from 8 years old until we were 22. From little kids to college, same wrestling team. Best friend. I was his best man in his wedding. Oh, underneath his brother, so second best man. And so I told him, I'm like, I can't miss the bachelor party. I feel bad. Obviously, I'm not gonna, actually party. I went to his bachelor party and I trained. All my friends were, having fun. I was training, knowing, like I said, I knew my purpose, but I knew I had to be there for my friend no matter what.
That's awesome.
So I made it out there, and that's when it got even crazier because at this point I did a week of that camp in California, a week of the camp in Albuquerque. After the bachelor party, I went to Milwaukee from northern Wisconsin, did a week in Milwaukee. Then I did my last week at home with my best friend. And then I stood up in his wedding, left the wedding early to go cut weight for morning weigh-ins.
That's what I call determination, discipline. Like that's great.
Well, that's what my Instagram handle is, Dan the Determined. It was actually my last amateur fight. I got a rear naked choke, and it's funny because I got up, and my opponent goes, "You must have been practicing that for a while." And I started laughing. I'm like, I've never even choked anyone in practice before. I've never hit anyone in it. And then he's like, "Oh, shit." And after that last fight, I just got hooked on jiu-jitsu, just finding submissions at practice nonstop. It changed my whole game, Then once I got in fights and I'm, hitting someone or I'm getting tired, I'm like, is he gonna give up? And he turns around, gives me a back, and it's there for me, They saw how I held myself, and they're like, "Oh, okay, this guy's a real deal." I think they thought I was playing games, and then once I showed up to fight, where I'm happy, I'm having fun. It's, I walk in like I own the place. That's how you have to be when you're about to fight. You're about to possibly go humiliate yourself. So live it up. Go out there, have fun, fucking use your training, and I think after that first one, they liked me. They really liked me, and it was cool to find, I would say, it's a home for me now. That organization makes me feel safe. They make me feel like I'm going to be taken care of. It's pretty cool because you hear some nightmare stories about, people with the organizations are dealing with. Yeah, you hear bad stuff, and to know that they're taking good care of me, and they're taking good care of some of my friends. It's safe to say that I'm excited to take over that bantamweight division in the next year or so.
Awesome. Well, Dan, it was great talking to you, and I appreciate your time, and we'll let you get back to training.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks.